Hey guys, welcome back to Release the Craftin. Priscilla here with day 4 of Poevember. That's right, 4 days into it already, and I have seen so much cool stuff, you guys. I am loving what everybody's make so far, and we're just at the top of it, so I cannot begin to tell you how excited I am for this challenge. I feel like a lot of people have been waiting to come out and show up, and it's been amazing so far, so I'm very excited for that. So thank you guys who have already joined. If you're still planning on joining, haven't joined yet, want some of the information, it's all linked down below. Go to the Poevember 25 playlist, look at the announcement, see what we're doing here. There's 2 ways to join. You can do the big challenge, you can do the little challenge, and you can join along in the crafty fun. If you don't want to join in, but you would like to see, you can definitely watch all the videos. I will be linking everyone's videos that I can find. Make sure you use the hashtag Poevember25 so I can find your video. I will be linking all those videos to the playlist in the description box, and I have last year's playlist too, if you need some inspiration or some ideas, or you just want to see what everybody made last time. But for this time, the prompt for today is Azure. I feel like every time I say it, it sounds slightly different than the last time I said it, so the pronunciation of this word is a question mark. What it actually means is the color blue. It's another word for the color blue. It's actually, it's a very blue. It's like between ultramarine and like cornflower, probably, if I'm thinking of my blues correctly. It has sort of a very slight green tint to it, but not enough for me to be like, it has to be like blue-green, but it's just a color blue. It honestly could be any color blue, because back then they didn't have lots of names for the color blue. And it gets more wonky as time goes by. I talked about the color blue in my mini magic series and how they didn't have words for it for a very long time. And then when they did, it was kind of inadequate as a descriptor. And then now we have a bajillion words for blue, and blue is a very common color, and we see it all over the place. But if you're interested, it's also in that mini magic playlist and the color magic thing where I talk about the color blue, which is on my profile. So what am I doing today? I wanted to make a giant specimen card, is essentially what happened. I have a small, tiny specimen card die set that does like the 1.5, 2 inch size specimen cards. That's in this shape. It's like a longer type specimen card. So there's like a more Polaroid, less slide, like square slide sort of type of specimen card. And so I was going through this whole like thing in my brain where I was like, okay, if you make a template on Procreate, then you can make one that's the right size and it'll fit in your book. But then I was like, why not just make it like you know how to make things? So that's what we're doing. I'm using my brain to make a giant specimen card, which was not difficult at all. I was really overcomplicating it with all of that nonsense. And then, to cover the prompt, I decided to sort of glaze an acetate with my embossing glaze. And I can tell you guys right now, when you are heat embossing acetate, you need to be patient. That is the best thing I can tell you. You want to keep a pretty fair distance away from your acetate so that you don't warp it, and you just want to take your time slowly heating it up so that the embossing powder melts. And yeah, it works. You can absolutely heat emboss acetate. You just have to be very careful, very patient, and it's actually easier to emboss the entire piece than it is to try to do something very detailed and particular on it, because it's very detailed and particular. So the odds of you warping your acetate trying to zone in on something very particular is much higher it is on just doing the full sheet. I will say though that this embossing glaze, the Uncharted Mariner one that I'm using, is the devil. I don't know if you guys saw, but yeah, apparently it was really compacted in there, so when I poured it back in, it was full of air, and not all of it fit back in the jar, and I had to like go through this whole process. Needless to say, it got everywhere. I had this freaking embossing glaze everywhere, and there's a point here you can see I decided to use the still damp like oxide powder or oxide ink to add some more embossing like to my thing. So I wanted to add some like variance in texture and tone of the blues that we're working with here. But what I ended up doing was accidentally hitting my camera, my phone, when I picked up the card. So it just scattered everywhere. So there was barely anything on there by the time I got around to actually embossing it. So I was so mad I had to do it again. So I went back and wet embossed it, which worked out just fine. It got the level of texture I was going for. But in the process, yes, I got embossing powder freaking been everywhere. So like if it hadn't already been getting everywhere, I also spread it everywhere like the best of craft room herpes. It got everywhere. It was even on my cutting like board, my cutting tool, which was absolutely upsetting because I don't even understand how it got that far, because it's not right next to my desk. It's actually behind my chair. So I don't know how it got over there, but it did. And I imagine that I will be continuing to find an Uncharted Mariner embossing powder everywhere for a while now, because even this morning when I got up to do this voiceover, I could still feel it on my mat even after I wiped it down last night. So, you know, just girly things. It was just become a rant about my hatred for this embossing powder, which turned out very cool. It got the exact effect I was going for in the variants and textures and tones of blue, but much to my chagrin, absolutely got fucking everywhere. So, now that I've used this texture stamp and gotten everything nice and textured, nice and blue, I actually spent a fair amount of time being like, okay, you're a Gothic person, how do you make blue Gothic? Because it's not a color I nearly typically approach when I'm thinking Gothic. So, the answer was gravestones and spooky moss and texture that makes you a little bit uncomfortable the longer you look at it. That was my takeaway. So I have this image, which is a statue from a cemetery that I got out of my the beautiful death book that I've been using. I use it quite a bit because I have it, so I use it. And I thought it was very, very appropriate. It's of this like guy being like held by death. This guy in agony, being held by death, and it seems very on brand for Poe, so I thought that worked. And then I found this death's head moth in a like butterfly and moth encyclopedia, so absolutely had to use that. Did I regret cutting out the antennas and the legs? Yeah, I thought about just chopping them off, but then the obsessive person inside of me said, no, cut them out, it's fine. And that's where I realized I shouldn't make you guys watch me cut them out. I cut away. Because I was like, wow, that's so tedious. So in-depth for what? Then here's where I discovered that there was embossing freaking powder on my tool. So yeah, now I'm just cutting out the paint I'm going to use as my background. I like that there's a moth in the background of this. It'll be like an echo of the moth I put on the front. There's a couple things that happened during the course of this construction. I forgot that I made the little flip tab so that I could attach it to the page. So that little like tab that you guys watched me make in the beginning, the little gusset, I forgot about it. And I had meant to put it inside here before I closed it. I don't do that. I have to end up putting it on the outside on the end. I actually do that in the next video when I assemble the page, because that's when I remembered, because I was like, where did it go, George? And George did not tell me where it went. But you can see, I think you can kind of see the vision here, now that you can see the glazed over acetate is the right color. I will tell you, it's a very funky feeling if you're a texture person like myself. Touching the surface of the enamel piece is so icky. I hated it. Did not enjoy it whatsoever. But I kept doing it because, of course, nothing if not drawn like a moth to a flame to the things I hate the most. But I guess that's just a fair warning. If you're a texture person who does not like certain sensations on your fingers, you may not like the feel of an embossed acetate piece on your fingers. So yeah, I had definitely turned it facing inside so that I didn't have to touch it again. But yeah, I forgot to put the little flap attachment, the little gusset piece onto it, which I would have put together before I closed it up. Here's where I'm just sort of trying out ideas. That was a horrible idea, but I left it in there so you guys could see the process. And then I thought it'd be cool if you could see the words underneath, but then I still wanted to decorate everything, and I figured out by the time I added all the things I wanted to decorate, you wouldn't be able to see the word. So that didn't work out either. But then I decided that the blue was too blue at this point, so I wanted to add some more texture on top of it because it's already very textured, but for some reason I needed to add some black to sort of dull back some of that blue a bit. And I don't know how well it shows up on camera, but it worked for what I was going for. You can still see the black on there because the jet black archival ink is a little bit darker than the black paper, but it also stands out on the blue pattern a little bit. But I just sort of grunged it all up a little bit more because, you know, why not more grunge? And then I have these vellum leaves and some old cutout leaves. I really need to go cut out some more leaves and stuff. I haven't really been super decorating a lot because of the things I talked about in the last video, where I'm not sure how these pages are gonna come out, or like what's going to go on top of them. So I haven't done that yet. But the other reason I haven't done a lot of decorating is because I have not cut any leaves out. I just have not been in the mood to die cut. And so like I have a bunch of ravens and skulls and spooky things that I could add to decorate these pages, and I just haven't cut them out yet. So one of these days when I catch up a little bit, probably I'm going to sit down and just have a major die cutting session and cut out a bunch of stuff so that when I come back and do the final decorating, I have things to use. So I'm just using some old stuff that I have here that I really hadn't intended for this project, because I wanted, to use a bunch of blacks and stuff like that. But I think the vellum works really well and is nice and ghostly on these page. And then I'm using one of my Gothic words on here. It just says dreary, which I think works with the vibe. And that death's head moth looks so great, and then the orange and the blue are like contrasting colors, so it really pops off of there, and I really like that. I love how like melancholic and sedated the like blue, the azure glazed acetate looks, and how everything is just like sort of a gloomy blue color now that we've added all these extra gothic-y things to it. So definitely leaning into the vibes of a moody blue color to get sort of that prompt across. And then for whatever reason I decided to take this really complicated process of adding a little bit of extra decoration to the other corner, because I felt like it was a little bit off balance. And then I was like, oh, I'll ink it, then I'll sand it, then I'll ink it again, but now it's too inky and not enough sanding, so come back and I'll sand it again. And then eventually I'll be done sanding this single piece of paper that really didn't add or take away from anything, but I felt like it was necessary. And then there you have it. There's what I made for the prompt for day 4, which was Azure. Such a weird sounding word. But if you want to see what everybody else is making, check out the hashtag Poevember25 hashtag, and I will catch you guys all in the next time. Until then, I appreciate your faces, guys. Happy crafting, and goodbye.